Ready or not, it's back to school time, and for many families, it's been a rather uncertain and confusing experience because of COVID-19. Well, here to help fellow mothers and fathers navigate these murky waters is the ultimate mom coach, Deborah Porter, founder of Mom's Mentoring Circle. Good to see you again.
Good to be here. How are you today?
Doing just fine. I've been seeing rather very happy pictures of kids going back to school, first day of kindergarten, first day of fifth grade, whatever the case may be. But there's still a little trepidation because of just the climate that we're living in these days. How would you advise parents to navigate themselves to a happy place?
Very true. Not every child is going to be super excited about being back in school this year. Some will and some will not. And so I suggest just a few things that's going to maybe help them have a great start to the year. Maybe even right now, a couple weeks in, you're realizing, you know what, I need a couple of systems in place. And so the first thing I would say is make sure that you are letting your child know that they need to ask for help when they need it. Begin to think about normalizing asking for help. And so what that can look like, I used to role play with my children. So I would be the teacher and let them be themselves. And then we'd switch it. I would be them and let them be the teacher. And what that does is it makes the conversation of asking for help a little bit more familiar if they can practice it. But then again, as moms, we need to really be the example of asking for help, right? We're super moms. We'll pop in and swoop in and do it all. But begin to kind of show them how that's really normal and choose to realize that that's more caught than taught a lot of times.
And how would you say, though, that the influence of a pandemic is having on the everyday pursuit of going to school and talking with your teachers? Because, you know, in some schools there are mask mandates. Some students may choose to wear them, others do not want to. So how do you then get that conversation going so that everybody is at least communicating with one another and expectations are understood?
I think you have to decide for your family what is going to be safe and appropriate for your family. And then let your child know, even when we're outside of these doors, we're still representing and doing what's best for our family. So if your family has made the decision on masks or whatever it may be, I think it's important to have those open dialogues with your kids, but really make the commitment as a family. Let them know what you're doing as well. Let them know that it's not just them, but that you're making this decision as a family.
And let's get into routine, because routine is a very important, a healthy routine is an important part of development. So where would you begin for parents to start implementing a routine in their children's lives?
So the first thing that I would start with would be morning routines. And what I like to say about that is the best morning routines start the night before. So whatever you can get done the night before, whatever your child can get done the night before is going to make the morning a bit smoother. So if that means laying out clothing, if that means packing out a lunch, laying out backpacks with all signed forms, with all assignments, homework, having these things ready to grab and go, as opposed to the bus pulling up and everybody thinking, oh my gosh, where's my lunch? Where's my homework? As much of that as you can do the night before, that's going to minimize those chaotic mornings that many of us are familiar with.
Yes, I've heard of the occasional meltdown happening just before you're supposed to get into the car and drive off to school. So yeah, you want to eliminate any kind of meltdown.
Absolutely. And they'll happen, right? So we've got to be flexible enough to know that from time to time that may happen. But the more you can get in the routine of helping your child kind of take responsibility back, as opposed to the question being, Mom, where is my? But really putting that back in their court and letting them know your things are your responsibility. They're not my responsibility.
Yes. Let's talk about setting goals. So whether it's the goal of creating a morning routine, the goal within your academics, goals just inside the home, period. What would you recommend for both families, parents and teachers, or excuse me, parents and children to set? So when setting goals, especially because we're kind of stepping back into
some sense of a normal. I would say make the goals doable. Try not to set the goal of, okay, you have to get all A's this year, right? We're going to have to ease back into this. So set goals that are doable, that are measurable, so that your child can actually see the progress and that you can actually kind of cheer them on. But make the goals doable, make them measurable, and don't make any of the goals perfection. Because whenever we set a goal of perfection, what we're going to do is rob our child and ourselves of peace in that moment, because perfection is just not doable and it's not sustainable.
Absolutely. And finally, staying in the know. So not the year for parents to sit out the parent-teacher conferences, the PTA meetings. You want to make sure that you are connected and communicating with educators.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that your school, wherever your child or children are in school, they have your up-to-date email, phone number, your most recent emergency contact, not the babysitter from 2 years ago. Sometimes we fill out these forms and we don't ever revisit them again. This is the year to revisit all of that information to make sure everything's up to date. Make sure you're at the school board meetings. Don't overlook any emails or handouts or correspondence coming from the school, because things this year could change very quickly. And you need to make sure that you are in the know right away, so that if anything needs to happen or change or shift with your child, you're not behind the 8 ball trying to catch up. You're already on top of it.
Excellent advice. Deborah Porter, thank you so much. Such a pleasure to see you again.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
We are back in 2 minutes.